have a draw which says you are proposition or opposition. You flip a coin, you decide that. The director actually lets you pick up a slip and you figure out what is the motion. You have that. You usually have a minimum 1 hour. Could be 2, could be the entire night, right? I'm sure you'll be debating till tonight, midnight, if you are still on. Remember, it's a knockout league. If you don't fall out, I'll see you when it actually clocks 3rd of February or something, right? Okay, so you do all that. You take it away. At the registration desk, they give you your guest IDs. There are labs upstairs. If you have your own dabba, your laptops, you're welcome to them, whatever way. And then we come in. Let's see how it looks when you come in. This is how the house will look like, ideally. All right? So there's a podium. The proposition is on the left of the adjudicators. The opposition is on the right. There's an opening house. There's a closing house. Clearly, you can see there are first two members, the proposition leader and the deputy leader, make the opening house a proposition, and finally there is an opening opposition, and then the member and the whip, both sides make the closing house. That's how the structure looks like. That's where the adjudicators are, and the audience sits behind. Fair? Just to say how it looks in case you're the first timers. Okay. Having said that, here are some things that you will get into. You have a motion. I'm going to walk through this slide. I'm going to walk all of that through with you, in a little more detail rather than spending time here. So what's the motion? It's what you're fighting for and against. So the tournament director, when you pick up a slip, actually has a topic mentioned out, right? That means that's what the proposition or the government is fighting for. We don't, at PCTE, we don't call it a government. I know it's part of the British parliamentary debate, but we normally choose to call it the proposition and the opposition. Keeps it simple, keeps it short. So whatever the statement you pick up, that is what the proposition is defending, or the opposition is opposing, in other words. Fair enough? We understand that? So I'm just taking an example. For example, the House believes that the Paris Agreement will be met. Sounds a little difficult as I talk today, but that's a debate, right? So just because US fell out doesn't necessarily mean it cannot happen. I've seen Macron do a lot of leap bounding there, and we see a lot of soft power coming in from France. So who knows, right? So it may dwell on, it may not dwell on. There are people who are against, there are people who are for, and it could be a healthy debate. We could walk through it if you wanted to. Let me quickly walk you through what the time is going to look like. The first and the second debate that you will see has 3 minutes. Now you may say 3 debates, depending on, I believe you're already beyond the league of 32, so we'll have buys we'll fight for. Now there'll be 5 debates to the final, 6 debates to the final, I apologize. Normally we have 5 debates, because we know we're in a round of 32. We're in a round of 64. So there'll be buys we'll fight, and the first 3 debates, the time is 3 minutes. That means each person speaks for 3 minutes, comes back, the proposition leader for a returning speech for 1 minute. Fair enough? And by the time you reach the last 2, the second let me count it backwards now. 3, 4th and 5th debate, you're looking at, for the 4th debate, you're looking at 4-minute speech. By the end, we graduate to a 5-minute speech, each individual, right? So the debate gets more complicated, the topics will get more strategic, more political, more geopolitical, more in-depth, more complicated and sophisticated in so many words, right? And you get to chew a lot more, dwell a lot more into more strategic way of thinking around it, not just a straight topic where you say, oh, that's for, that's against. It's probably going to look a lot more complicated. So we give you more time to build on it because of those reasons, precisely. And the returning speech is also grown. For a 4-minute speech, you'll have a 1.5 minutes return speech, while for a 5 minutes debate, you will have a 2 minutes return speech, right? Okay. Having said that, what do you need to do? I'm sorry if that's not too visible, but let me quickly pull you through. It's saying definition, interpretation, problem, cause and effect, solution, and conclusion. Meanwhile, the opposition is not that simple. Now, if you want to tumble the proposition over, you won't be able to say, we challenge the definition. Or, that's not the definition. Or there's a lack of understanding of the definition. Okay? Now, every time you're not challenging, if you challenge, you really want to back it up. Let me unpack that a little more for you to understand. Let's say the leader comes from opposition and says, we challenge the definition. Then 3 people behind you should live up to it. You can't just come and challenge and then not fall it up, back it up after that. Otherwise your house will fall. Right? Okay. Similarly, you can challenge the proposition at any stage. As you see, you provide better perspectives. You say that is not the problem. Then my saying, no, I disagree, doesn't matter one bit, seriously. If you keep saying, no, I disagree with you, that's not true, that's lame. That's lame. What I want to hear from you, opposition, is that is not the problem, this is. That is not the cause, this is. Or this is a better solution than the one you provided. Right? Etc., etc. So how do you one-up the proposition is your challenge. Now, usually, the definition is provided by the proposition. And I would really encourage the opposition to save your time. If you agree with that definition, which is more of a factual dictionary stuff anyway, you can say we agree with the definition in 5 seconds, actually less, and get on with it. Save your time. Unless you want to challenge or redefine, don't waste your time redefining. Right? Get to think of it, the proposition always has a returning speech. Right? Because the opening speaker gets to do a lot of definition, interpretation, and perspectives. So you want to save that time, because you're not going to get a returning speech, remember? Yeah? Do you understand the returning speech, everybody in the house?
Yes.
Okay, there are a few no's, so let me go divert to that lane. The first speaker, the proposition opening speaker, or the leader, does not get to rebut. Yeah, because nobody's spoken before him. And therefore, we have returning speech, which I said for a 3-minute speech will be 1 minute, for a 4-minute speech will be 1.5, and for a 5-minute speech will be 2 minutes returning speech, in order for you to come back and rebut if you happen to be the proposition leader. Jacob? Good? You're in Punjab. I'm trying some Punjabi with you then. Good job. Okay. So far, so good. Let's proceed. I've got high levels of energy. We're all super excited about this. And I hope you bring in so much similar energy there. So you're defining, interpreting, what is the problem, cause, effect, solution. I've already mentioned all this. And here are a couple of examples I'm bringing in. What about Latin America's economic growth? Do you see it happening? The House believes it can. The House believes it can't. I don't know. There's a lot of movement from the leftists and the populists to the right wing in the last few years. Hyperinflation has carried on in several countries. Some of them have been able to get out of it. A lot of countries have seen border dispute, but then I've seen Argentina and Chile bury it and do better. All right? And yet we've seen Brazil filled with riots over everything from FIFA to Olympics and back and forth, and plenty of corruption. Plethora of it, I should actually say. So, both ways, there are positives and negatives, right? And I would rather sit down and debate which one would happen. And similarly, how's a sub-Saharan Africa? Do you think it's a promise or it's a peril? Well, what kind of house is it? It's just to help you understand that anything that's debatable, when I was talking about Latin America's economy, so you are basically putting into perspective some perspectives, some interpretations of the definition, right? That's what I was doing. I was looking at economic issues I just mentioned. I mentioned geopolitical issues. I mentioned social issues. I already took up 3 or 4 perspectives when I started off with Latin America, and you could do it with literally every topic. So there's a number of perspectives that the opening speaker brings in, which gets your debate a more holistic view, and it adds the breadth. I repeat, the breadth to your topic. Unlike, adding to what Dr. Kangalia said, unlike the Asian debate where you're going to focus on, as a lawyer, into one minuscule thing where somebody would have done the scene of crime and you want to unearth and go into minute, you take a deep dive into it. In a British parliamentary debate, we expect you to have a holistic overall knowledge and be a jack of all trades and be able to debate it from all perspectives a nation or an economy may be struggling with. Remember, none of them are aloof of each other. I repeat, none of them are aloof of each other. So if, for example, the economy is not doing well, the political circle will also get affected. I don't need to tell you that every time you have incumbency, it's perhaps because the country did not do well. You are perhaps looking for a great economy from Modi. Oops, didn't happen. Right? So now you're going to figure out, unless you do, sad story, we don't have another great leader standing on the other side, but I would be like, oh my God, who did I vote for? What came out of it? Where's my country now? What was my GDP earlier? What was my growth rate earlier? And where am I sitting now? I'm going to do that as an educated civilian. That's my first thing as an academician I look at. All right? So that's how most governments, it's not just India, and we're talking about Modi and having a laugh here. When you look at international economies, business, geopolitical issues, you would notice that every economy responds in the same fashion. When there is incumbency, it's because politically they've not, economically they've not done well, and then the political cycle shifts. Right? So they're all intertwined, and you want to be able to look at all those perspectives. And just to help you see some of those in more detail, and there could be so many others as well. Here are some. Here are just some from the top of my head. You could add more, but those are sort of broad things that usually get affected when you start looking at a topic and you say, oh, this is what happened historically, or this is what's happening geographically, or politically, or socially, or economically, etc. Okay, now we talked about debating, and I assure you this is the most important slide. If you come with a pre-prepared speech, we don't love you. As simple as that, right? If you're an opening speaker, we accept a pre-prepared speech. If you are number two as an opposition leader, or the deputy for opposition, or the deputy opposition, or member, and God bless you if you're the whip. Your only job is to bloody whip. So whip it, man. Okay? Make sure you whip. And we appreciate you, we encourage you, we totally love you if you rebut. That's all this debate is about. And I assure you, you could screw up your tenses, you could mess up your grammar once in a while, but if you're not rebutting, we're not even interested. So make sure, see, there's nothing about this debate. You could carry your entire 9 yards to the podium. You carry your entire dabba in front of you, I don't give a damn. If you read it, if you know it, if you're reading about something for the past several years, only then would you know what to rebut what with. That 1 hour is not going to put in your best of efforts, because there's only so much limited research that you can really do. And therefore, when you rebut, that's what counts. So here's just a hypothetical one round. It's not hypothetical, it's very concrete. There's only one round that I'm putting here for you, just to help you understand what we think is a healthy debate. And similarly, the time increases for a 4-minute debate, and then it further increases for a 5-minute debate. So when you look at it, for a proposition leader, when you come for a returning speech, the last 1 minute, we really are expecting you to rebut. If you haven't concluded for whatever reason, then you could conclude. 30 seconds out of 3 minutes, leader of opposition, we need you 30 seconds to 1 minute, we want you to rebut. Same way for the deputy leader, half the time rebuttals, nearly half the time, 40%, 50% speech rebutting, and by the time you get to the whips, except your conclusion or a solution that you may want to provide, we want you to spend all your breath and energy only on rebutting, right? Pure whipping, absolutely. So that's what we're encouraging as adjudicators, and there's no problem if you want to carry weight. Now, I'm outlining each persona or profile so that it helps you which one you want to choose, or where do you see yourself fit in. The proposition speaker, that's their basic duty. You define, you interpret, you bring in the perspectives, what we say develop into categories or genres, but you basically bring in the perspectives in so many words, and you may summarize if you have the time. Similarly, the opposition leader would do a bit of rebuttal and lay down their own definitions and perspectives depending on what they want to do. And then comes the middle two speakers on both sides, the deputies and the members. Now, you want to recap, or you want to, more importantly, rather than recapping and wasting time, I would say even more aggressively build on. Right? Somebody's provided a perspective, you want to build that case up. You want to pick up examples, you want to pick up cases, and you want to take them further. Don't bring in case studies, you'll eat up the time. Remember, be cryptic and crisp and brief and laconic and pithy and every other side that exists for it. Make sure the more you cover with clear communication, the better off you are leading up. So you build a case, you have rebuttal arguments, and you respond to them, and you take it to a full bloom. And eventually, similarly for a deputy opposition leader, doesn't look very different. Finally, you have the whips. I've said enough about it. You may pick up the case chronologically, you argue it out. Why do I say that? Because you may have had a speaker who has not, let's say you're a deputy and your members missed out something that probably the proposition leader said, but you want to take it up now and rebut it regardless. That's not the best healthy way of doing it, because then it does not allow you to crisscross. You don't allow the other members to further rebut it, but still, if there's something going amiss, don't miss it. Take it up. Whatever's missed, it's your job to rebut, right? And then you provide a solution and a conclusion. Provide a solution and a conclusion. And it looks not very different for the opposition group either. Pretty much the same. Here is a sheet which will help you listen to this carefully rather than clicking a picture, because picture could be ambiguous. I want you to understand what is it that you don't want to do. If you're a proposition or an opposition leader, and you provide a solution and a conclusion, we give you minus marks for it. I repeat this. If you're a proposition, you're opening house, not just the leader, the opening house does not provide solutions. So that's simple. Okay? Okay. Similarly, the closing house does not provide new perspectives. Okay? Okay? So I can understand if you are the member, the third speaker, and towards the end of the speech, you decide to bring in the solution. Because you may want to debate that as well. That's okay. Understandable. Which means, in a healthy way, you've taken the time to hear out both sides. You've said, your team has said a lot. You've heard the other team's perspective. And now, you're deciding what solution should be. Anytime you bring in a solution at the beginning of the debate, clearly tells me you did not bother to listen to what the people have to say. Yeah? Okay? And that's an unhealthy way of debating. And same goes for perspectives. If you bring in a new perspective towards the end of the debate, it clearly shows that you did not want the other team to debate it, argue it, respond to it, rebut it, and therefore you brought it at the end to score an advantage point. We as adjudicators frown on both. I repeat, we as adjudicators frown upon both those things. They are unhealthy in a debating time, and we discourage you to do it. Fair? Shall we proceed? All right. Okay. Two different things that I want to talk about. The first one is called a POI, the second is called a POO. Not a poo, but a POO. Okay? The POI is a point of information, and there's a very simple sense of questions that you may want to ask me, which I want to answer right now from here. Why do you take a POI? To seek clarification, to rebut, to find out the source. I would discourage you from doing the third one. It's not going to get you anything. You're just wasting time. Right? Who takes it? Only the opposition member. Okay? And when do you take it? Only during the unprotected time. So let's talk about the protected time now. Let's talk about the protected time. How many of you understand protected time? Okay, few people already do. Great. So let's say idly the beginning 3 minutes debate, your bell, the first bell, goes at the end of 1 minute. That means you get the time to build up your case, and now its unprotected time has begun and people can ask you questions. So somebody can raise a hand, you have to say whether you're taking that question or not. If I'm in an opposition and I raise my hand, I can't just speak up. If I just butt in, I get negatives. It's a parliamentary house, remember. We want you to follow the decorum all the time. Never mind the Indian Parliament House. Alright? So we will stick to the ideal Parliament House. If you can raise your hand, and you should keep it there for at least 15 to 20 seconds, because sometimes the person may be reading or looking the other way and may not notice you. Alright? So you want to hold your hand there, and as soon as the speaker notices you, he will either say taken, which means you can speak out your POI, or he will ignore you. If he ignores you, you still don't have the right to speak up. That means you just cannot butt in. But mind you, the speaker gets negative points for not taking a POI, which means I'm not open to healthy debating. I'll tell you when does he or she get negative points. So in a 3-minute speech, we expect you to take at least 1 POI. You can take the first one. If you missed it, pray you get a second one. If you don't, well, you get a minus anyway. If you do, then you have the chance to prove to the adjudicators that you're not just somebody who crowds up and comes in and pours it out. You're someone who is actually open to debating, can take our perspective right live over there and respond to it. Right? That's how it usually runs. Now, I already mentioned by raising your hand, and I also forgot to mention within 10 seconds. Now, if I am taking a POI and I get up and I start rattling, 5 seconds, 8, 10, 12, I'm still speaking. God bless you. You've only got 3-minute speech. You can ask the person to shut up without saying shut up, okay? Say, thank you so much for wasting my time, and go on back to your speech. You have the right to do that, somebody who's going on and on beyond 12 or 13 seconds. You think the person's not finishing anywhere close, tell the person, sorry, I have to continue. Move on. So somebody who wants to talk, right in between and ask you a question will have to be equally crisp, sharp, and real bushy to get you answering that. So the pressure is on both ways, okay? Yeah, good. And only when you ask a really good question do you get something for it. When you put your hand up and say, oh, what's your source? I'm not giving you anything positive for that. That requires no head. Yeah? That requires no head for taking a POI. When you ask a valid POI, I like you. When you have the ability to respond positively to that, I like you too. Both. Yeah, okay, win-win situation. Okay, so who else? We've talked about this, and I think that should do it. Here's the proof. It's a real proof, because it goes, excuse me, right? It doesn't do in between the debate. A POO only happens at the end of the debate. I'm sorry, at the end of each speaker. So the moment the person comes and takes a seat, the adjudicator will ideally ask you, especially the opposition and the proposition also, do you have a POO? And that's a good time to speak up if you have something. So what is a POO? There are some things that are considered unacceptable in the Parliament. Everything that is unparliamentary can call for a POO. So it's your and your team's observation during the speech. If you guys are talking, you can exchange slips. If you're talking, if you move your seats, if you use unparliamentary language, if you snigger, if you bang desks, right? I know you love to do that. You clearly love to do that. You're like, whoa, the more I bang, the better I look. I'm like dramatic or something now. Alright? So any of the unparliamentary things that you do, including picking up chairs and banging somebody's head, you get minuses for that. So, and I'll give you a minus anyway. Now, if you are the opposing team and you observe it, I repeat, I'm going to give you a minus anyway, because I observe. If you're the opposing team and as a parliamentarian you observe that and bring it to the notice of the House, you get an extra one. That's like a brownie point. Smile ear to ear when you get that. Yeah? So it's being like true parliamentarians and being in the decorum, and that's the part of admin jobs or being in the protocol as we call it. Are we smoking? Good? Okay. So I'm now literally doing a recap here. That's what you're evaluated on. Strength of your arguments. Your speaking ability is good, but your rebuttals are better. I've already said that. The panel of adjudicators would be 3 or more, depending on debate. The first one will have to be 3, regardless. There'll be one chairperson who would usually be talking to you. I'm sorry. Let me finish that. And the person will introduce and manage the debate, and then eventually adjudicate it for you. We do a very detailed adjudication usually. PCTs are really bad at this. So they're going to tell you where you went wrong, right? All the P&Qs, they'll bring it up. That's about it.